Imagine a world where solo play is more than just playing a game. Maybe you're doing your solo play for something much, much more. Something grander, something bigger. Maybe you're using solo play for world building. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Sacred, and this is the Sacred Art of Gaming, where we like to apply creative thinking to tabletop role-playing games with an emphasis on solo play. And today, we're going to be talking about using solo play, the soul of the solo play. We're putting the soul in solo play today, let me tell you. And that is going to be for world building. Yes, an excellent tool and a happy little accident that I stumbled upon that I didn't know that I would love, and then I later realized that I did love it, and it kind of created a new purpose for solo play for me. Let's talk about it. I've said that twice. Let's go. Can I say let's go instead? So similar to like the butterfly effect, I believe, where it's like something that happens over here. I think it's a butterfly flaps its wings. It starts like a tornado somewhere else, right? And I'm sure that's exactly how that works, the butterfly effect. There's no additional information there that's needed or context at all. So yeah, anytime I do a solo play, and you can do as much or as little as you would like, but in a nutshell, this is really what I end up doing. Anytime I do a solo play of any kind, a walkthrough, an example, anything that I have to take a note of any kind that I have experienced, it gets documented into my library, in my head. But I also make sure it's on paper somewhere too, or in my computer or something. Because that thing that I just did made changes to a world that exists, to me. And I very quickly started to realize that I was building something out that was, I thought, like pretty interesting. And there were some games that I was playing that I was able to kind of combine in a sense. So the very obvious question here is, Sacred, you play some radically different games. How in the nine hells do you make those work in one world? Well, the answer to that is that I kind of don't. I do one of two things. It's either one world and it's different timelines within that world. Probably the main world that I deal with the most is that you kind of almost have like, it goes back as early as like a Bronze Age situation where like the gods are around more and magic is a little bit more free flowing. So perfect for like RuneQuest, Mithras, stuff like that. I believe there was a Magic the Gathering, was it Titans, Odyssey, something? Let me look at the book, is it over here? Mythic Odyssey of Theros for D&D 5e, if that's your jam. So yeah, all of that within one, you could say like a Bronze Age. And then from there, something inevitably happens, things go wrong, humans and gods don't agree on something, some type of betrayal, etc. So then that brings you down into like a low fantasy type situation. That's where I can throw in my Forbidden Lands, Dragonbane, OSR type games, Shadow Dark. And then maybe things go from, we're just taking your toys away, to things are getting downright diabolical, apocalyptic, real bad. So then that's when you start to bring in things like Blades in the Dark, Shadow of the Demon Lord, Morkborg, and I'm starting to basically gather all of these plays and stories, and I'm putting them in buckets, so to speak. And interesting thing for this Sundered Isles playthrough that's coming through right now, where it's actually going to be based off of like floating islands and flying ships. What's interesting that I didn't think about until starting this Sundered Isles playthrough is that it actually is going to exist in the same timeline as the things are going real bad. So like Shadow of the Demon Lord type stuff is happening on the ground, but they're up in the sky where things are still kind of not too bad. And actually I did misspeak. Things went rune quests to like low magic to like a hyper high magic, whether it's your D&D 5e, Savage Pathfinder, and then things went apocalyptic if we care about the story of things, and then things went full on apocalyptic, and then a rebirth situation that gives you like a Horizon Zero Dawn, Numenera, and that's all like one world. Different mini buckets within one large bucket for that world. Similar to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or you know, maybe even like Brandon Sanderson's universe, there are going to be things that just aren't going to fit. A few obvious examples is I played a lot of superhero games and superhero campaigns. Those have their own world. And then some games that are a little bit more on the, I don't know if I'd say childish, but they're a little bit more lighthearted, a little more fun. Things like Root and Crystal Heart, and some that are almost like Zelda / Super Mario Brothers adjacent. Those kind of have their own space that exists. And then from there, you're starting to think about the connective tissue between these different times in this one world and why one thing led to the other. If that's fun for you, then, I mean, it's fun for me, and I enjoy that. It almost becomes like you have your solo play, and then there's an additional larger play that's happening. Now you start thinking about like gods and how the universes are tied, and you know, is there anyone that like jumps from world to world? Because before I even thought about this, when I was doing mainly group plays, I did have a character named Damien who notoriously showed up in various campaigns and was kind of a chaotic character. He was in a superhero campaign, but he was also in East Texas University. So yeah, I'm gonna continue with that and that idea of like these world hoppers. And that's exciting. So every time you play, you kind of create this loop of, you know, you don't have to do this, don't think you have to, but you have this tactical story that takes place. Picture like Mandalorian for Star Wars, right? You're like really in there for that really cinematic, episodic story. And then you think about, okay, you zoom out and think about, oh, how does that affect the world? And your world building, baby. And then that world building goes right back into your next episodic, tactical level solo play in that world or time or a different one, right? And then you can just continue to build on it and make changes, and that's exciting. And before you know it, you have a world. And sometimes the world that you think you have, even if it changes, that's fine, because then that just meant it was a rumor. Especially when you start thinking about things like myths and gods and stuff, it's very easy to think about what they think the gods are versus what they actually are, or even like how magic works versus how it ends up working. And that's perfectly fine. You don't even have to use every single little bit of every single solo play. You can very easily carve out the high points, right? So don't think you have to write a novel. That's not necessarily the intent of this. The intent is more so world building, and you can pull stories from that to make an overarching story, but by no means do you have to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to share my experiences because I have seen lately, whether you know Reddit or YouTube or whatever, that there's been quite a few people that are using solo play for world building, and it got me so excited whenever I see that other people are doing things that I'm doing that I thought was weird. So we are in this together. So if you enjoyed this video, consider slapping a like on this bad boy. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. I am Sacred. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming. Join me in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming together.